Hello, everyone, and welcome back to this channel, where we delve into the deep recesses of history. Today, we are exploring a love-hate drama where the selfishness of one king completely redrew the map of world history. The king in question is King Henry VIII of England. His life reads like a Shakespearean tragedy. 6 wives, 2 divorced, 2 executed. At the climax of this extravagant divorce saga, he broke away from the Pope in Rome and unilaterally enacted the unprecedented selfish Reformation. How did one man's personal desire for a male heir and his passionate pursuit of the woman he desired lead to such a monumental event in English and world history? Today, we will unravel the drama of Henry VIII's love and obsession and examine the profound historical impact of his choices. Part 1. The Ideal Monarch and the Obsession with an Heir. Henry VIII ascended the throne in 1509. At the time, he was far from the portly, capricious tyrant we often imagine. He was tall, athletic, highly educated, and a true Renaissance prince, embodying the hopes of his people. His first wife was the Spanish princess, Catherine of Aragon, who was also his brother Arthur's widow. She was a devout Catholic, and together they had one daughter, the future Mary. However, this marriage required bending the rules of the church. According to the Old Testament book of Leviticus, taking a brother's wife was forbidden, a union that should remain childless. Henry had secured a papal dispensation to marry, but now he feared that the lack of a male heir was God's punishment for this sin. The central problem was singular: no son survived. England had only recently emerged from the chaos of the Wars of the Roses. A strong male heir was essential for royal stability. Henry began to seriously wonder if the curse of Leviticus had finally come to pass. This personal anxiety and obsession became the spark that ignited a world-changing crisis. Part 2. The Woman of Destiny, Anne Boleyn, and the King's Great Matter. It was during this period that the captivating courtier, Anne Boleyn, entered Henry's life. Henry fell completely under her spell. But Anne was shrewd. She refused to become merely the king's mistress. She demanded the status of queen. Henry decided he must have his marriage to Catherine, declared null and void annulled, arguing the union was invalid from the start because of the Leviticus issue. This became known as the King's Great Matter. Situation quickly became deadlocked. Pope Clement VII was effectively a prisoner of the Holy Roman Emperor, Charles V, who was Catherine of Aragon's nephew. Charles V flatly refused to allow his aunt's marriage to be annulled. The Pope was trapped. Agreeing with Henry meant angering the powerful emperor and potentially losing England. Refusing meant defying a major European monarch. The negotiations dragged on. Henry VIII's intense personal need to divorce quickly, marry Anne Boleyn, and father a son reached a boiling point. He made the historic decision to solve the problem himself, without relying on Rome. Part 3. Executing the Selfish Reformation. Henry found 2 brilliant advisors willing to transform his personal whim into a matter of state sovereignty: Thomas Cranmer, who would become Archbishop of Canterbury, and the lawyer Thomas Cromwell. Under their guidance, England rapidly accelerated its break from Rome. In 1533, Henry finally declared his marriage to Catherine null and void, without waiting for papal approval, and secretly married Anne Boleyn. Their daughter would become the iconic Elizabeth Thermoyer. Then came the defining moment in 1534, the Act of Supremacy. This act declared that the King of England was the only supreme, a head of the Church of England. England had officially seceded from papal authority. Crucially, this was not a theological reformation like Luther's or Calvin's. Henry's religious reformation was based almost entirely on his selfish motives: personal desire for a wife and the economic desire for church wealth. The doctrine of the new Church of England remained largely Catholic. Only the head had changed from the Pope to the King. Furthermore, he dissolved the monasteries across England, seizing their vast lands and wealth. This treasure funded the royal treasury, and significantly, financed the rapid expansion of the English Navy. Part 4. The Subsequent Wives and the Historical Legacy. Henry VIII's drama did not end there. Anne Boleyn failed to deliver a son and was executed on charges of treason after only 3 years. His third wife, Jane Seymour, finally gave him the longed-for male heir, Edward VI, but she tragically died shortly after childbirth. Henry called her his only true wife. He then divorced Anne of Cleves, executed Catherine Howard for adultery, and finally married Catherine Parr, who survived him. The lasting historical impact of his selfishness is immense. Wanton, the seed of religious conflict establishing the Church of England, created an internal fault line between Catholics and Protestants leading to decades of violent religious persecution under his children, Mary, Aragon, Catholic, and Elizabeth Vermeer, Protestant, two shaping English identity. The independent church became a cornerstone of English nationalism and the eventual identity of a sea empire. 3. Strengthening royal power. By eliminating the Pope's authority and seizing church assets, the king's absolute power was vastly amplified, laying the groundwork for English absolutism, a single king's personal quest for a successor. Dramatically carved England away from Catholic Europe, setting it on a path to becoming the global power we know today. Conclusion: the curtain falls on the drama. Henry VIII's life was a whirlwind of love, betrayal, passion, and power, a true love-hate drama. By modern standards, his actions driven by desire were purely selfish, yet the institutions he created, the Anglican Church and the empowered monarchy, became the bedrock of a future global empire. This is history's ultimate irony. What is your judgment of the selfish Reformation? Driven by a king's divorce? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please remember to subscribe and hit the like button. Thank you for joining me on this historical exploration. I will see you in the next video.